إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله فقال الله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون وقال الله تعالى يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار ثم ما بعد. Among the annals of Islamic history, also found in books of tafsir like Ibn Kathir, Al-Qurtubi, Al-Tabari, Ibn Abi Hatim, Al-Baghawi as well, they mention famously a story, the story of Barsisa the monk, not to be confused with Buhaira the monk who features in the seerah of An-Nabi alayhi salam. This is a man from the previous generations. And Barsisa had a unique issue in his life, that his entire, from the end of his life towards his death is a period of his life with great benefit to us. In fact, that's the reason we know about it. Barsisa, as I said before, was a monk, not a scholar, but a righteous slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, an epitome of piety and worship, someone who is revered as someone who is looked upon as the pillar of obedience to his Rabb in his village. Barsisa had neighbors like any other villager will do, and his neighbors were 3 young men and a woman, siblings to each other. These young men were either mujahidun rather, or they were travelers, and it so happened that they were called upon to do their duty. Being that they're mujahidun, they're not in a situation to take along their sister. So they approached their neighbor, this pious, righteous man who was also elderly, not necessarily very old, but older than them at least. Someone who's gone through many steps in life and someone who is already, inshallah, towards the end of his life. So they come to him and they say, we want you to take care of our sister in our absence. And Barsisa, like any noble righteous man who has been given the authority and responsibility over a young single woman without any mahram around her, obviously his response was no. I cannot do that. It's a responsibility and it's not appropriate. But they persisted and they insisted. And they overcame his initial resistance with a very solid arrangement, which was thusly. Barsisa will take care of her in one manner, in that he will provide for her food 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch and dinner. And the only way to do so will be he will leave the food outside the door, knock and leave. Arrangement worked fine, he agreed to that. The 3 men left on their duty. And this is how the cycle began. Barsisa with every single day would do the same exact thing. Prepare breakfast, lunch and dinner for the young woman, leave it outside her door, knock, and then depart. As time passed, Shaitan came to him. When I say Shaitan came to him, does not visit him, says, hello, my name is Shaitan. Shaitan came to him and whispered in his heart and said to him, here's a young woman, your neighbor. You do not know what anxiety, what solitude, what seclusion she lives in. She has no interaction with anybody. Her brothers are not there. What kind of neighbor are you? At least check upon her. Maybe she's sick. Maybe she's needed something else. Maybe the food that you prepare is not correct or not appropriate, or maybe she needs water, whatever. Just check upon her. She's your neighbor. She's your neighbor. So Barsisa, out of Huququl Jar, the rights of the neighbor, made an initial step. This time when he knocked on a door, he asked from outside the door, are you okay? Barsi says, your neighbor, I take care of you. I provide food for you. Are you in need of anything? Are you sick? Do you need anything, any assistance from me, medicine otherwise? And she responded, no, I'm fine. But one thing he added in his daily routine was this. Every single time he knocked, he asked her, are you okay? In other words, he was checking upon her verbally. This went on for some time. As time passed, Shaitan came to Barsisa a second time and told him, your neighbor, you've been neighborly to her somewhat. You provide for her food and you also take care of making sure that she's not in need of anything. But she's still lonely. She's alone in that home. She talks to nobody. At least out of kindness towards her, towards a young woman, talk to her. Give her some good advice. Perhaps inquire about her more than just, hello, everything is okay. Something a bit more detailed. And Barsisa fell for that trick again. He went toward this time when he knocked. He started a conversation. Everything is okay. I hope you're doing well. Things are good. This and this. And the conversation became relaxed. It was formal. It became informal. As time passed, the door opened. So now the woman and the man interact with each other from behind a hijab. But there's not that strictness or that formality of a door between them. And as time passed, the conversation became jovial, funny, jokes, stories, life anecdotes are being passed around. As time passes, Shaitan keeps coming to Barsisa again and again, putting him and suggesting to him to take one more step. And something which was started life, which is with something free from corruption, became corrupted. To the extent that Barsisa's heart was corrupted, and as all of you can imagine, he fell into zina with this woman. Not only did he fall into zina, she conceived. And she gave birth to their child. So obviously a long period of time has passed. The brothers have not returned yet from their trip. And Barsisa has engaged in something so evil. Finally, Shaitan came to the second last time. He said to Barsisa, you are in big trouble. This guise of morality and piety that you have on, how people look at you in this village, what the brothers think of you, all will be taken from you. You are in the most scandalous position possible, except no one knows about it yet. You have only one escape from this. Bury it. So Barsisa did the one thing he knew. He killed the child, killed the woman, and buried them. Is that the end of the story? No. Brothers return. The first thing they do, they go to Barsisa and they ask him, how our sister is doing, how are you? Sorry for the delay, it took us longer than expected. Barsisa tells them in a guise of piety as well as remorse, he says, your sister got very sick. She's a young one, but she got very sick and she passed away. And they were overcome with grief. But they accepted. This is Barsisa, why would they lie? Why would they assume anything else? They accepted that, went home, went to sleep at night. Shaitan came to all three of them in their dreams. And he told them, your neighbor, Barsisa, is lying. In that location, so and so, dig up over there, you will find her and the child that she conceived from him buried over there. The next morning, brothers check with each other. Yes, they all had the same dream. They go over there, they dig it up, and they find what? The remains of their sister and the child. Barsisa's scandal becomes well known. He is under house arrest and then he is convicted. He is about to be receiving capital punishment. He is about to be killed for his crime. At the moment of his death, Shaitan comes to him one last time. He says to Barsisa, I am Shaitan. I am the one who deceived you step by step. But I can give you one reprieve. If you disown Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make sajda to me right now, I will protect you from these men. And Barsisa fell for that trick as well. The moment he makes sajda, Shaitan departed and he was killed. The purpose of the story, brothers and sisters, is simply this. As clear as the story is, there are a lot of lessons that you do not understand from the story immediately. That is the purpose of what we discussed today in the second half of the khutbah. أقول قولي هذا لأستغفر الله لي ولكم. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. The first lesson for every single Muslim, young and old, man and woman, child and adult, do not test your iman. We as Muslims, we beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every single night when we go to sleep, when we recite the last two ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, رَبَّنَا وَلَا تُحَمِّلْنَا مَا لَا طَاقَةَ لَنَا بِهِ وَاعْفُ عَنَّا وَاغْفِرْ لَنَا وَارْحَمْنَا. We're begging Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, do not burden us with a burden that we cannot bear, that we don't have strength for. Rather, pardon us, forgive us, have mercy upon us. As Muslims, the smart Muslim will not test their iman. That's why Imam Sufyan al-Thawri Allah said, I do not test my iman, Allah will test it for me. The reason I'm mentioning so many of our youngsters who are going to middle school, high school, college, or returning to schools right now, where the iman will be severely tested. And from the story of Barsisa, we know not just a young man or young woman, even an older person can be deceived by shaitan. The second lesson is shaitan takes people step by step. Shaitan will not approach a man or woman of piety, righteousness and start with do kufr, because the clear answer will be no. He will not even start with do major sin, because the clear answer will still be no. Where would he start? Not even minor sins. He'll say, at least breach the etiquettes of companionship, or transgress against the etiquettes of interaction between genders. That's how he took Barsisa down the step, one by one. To the second or the third most heinous sin, zina. To the second most heinous sin, murder. And the most heinous sin, kufr. One by one. Slowly. Brothers and sisters, beware of these tricks of shaitan. And do not let yourselves be deceived. The third thing we realize from this story, at the end of the day, Nabi ﷺ told the truth. When a man and woman are alone in private, shaitan is a third with them. These two men and women, they started their interactions with a closed door, limited to, are you okay, I'm fine. Went all the way from there to engaging in something which is limited to husband and wife. Why? Because Nabi ﷺ said, what? The third is shaitan. And shaitan slowly misled both of them into the most heinous thing possible. The fourth lesson, brothers and sisters, understand this. Our scholars say that if a man and woman reaches the age of 40 and they're worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, chances are, inshallah, they will die upon that. But that is a general statement, not an absolute statement. Imam Ahmad who said famously on his deathbed, he was saying, no, never, never, never. And his children came to him afterwards when he had regained his composure. They asked, oh father, what were you saying no, no to? He said, shaitan came to me on the moment of my death and told me and asked me, renounce Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, never, never, never. If Imam Ahmad will be tested on his deathbed by shaitan, who are you and I? Beware of that till the last moment. And therefore our scholars say, when you have a relative about to pass away and you're surrounding them, keep reminding them to say what? La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. In fact, the last thing they should be dying upon, we ask Allah to allow us to last thing to die upon, which should be La ilaha illallah. For this very reason. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us benefit and to learn from the lessons of the people of the past, from their righteous actions and from their mistakes. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those people who follow the Quran and the Sunnah. We ask Allah to follow the seerah of Nabi alayhi salam, to understand it, to absorb it, and to follow the examples of the Sahaba and the righteous people before us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not to test it with burdens that we cannot bear and with tricks of shaitan that we cannot see. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us away from fitan that we do not understand, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to preserve our community. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع مجيب الدعوات سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وقيم الصلاة.